Do y'all remember this guy, the Atomos Ninja 5? This was the monitor just a couple of years ago. This was Steph Curry in the playoffs. This was LeBron in the regular season. This was the greatest of all time, the GOAT of all monitors because of its features and capabilities. Now, a lot of accessories have come out, and I feel like the Atomos Ninja 5, the original, got a little bit forgotten in terms of all of the accessories that are out for cameras nowadays. But in today's video, we're gonna talk about whether this monitor, the Atomos Ninja 5, the original, is still worth it in 2022. Let's get into it. Now, the Atomos Ninja 5 is your standard 5.5-inch monitor. Now, this thing has 1000 nits, which makes it great in highlight situations. So if you're shooting outside, you're still able to see everything going on in the screen. Now, a couple of my favorite features is the fact that this has the ability to load LUTs inside of it. So I can start to see what my color grade is gonna look like, and I can load in my custom LUTs on this monitor so I can start seeing how that image is looking. Now, on top of that, because a lot of client work, a lot of content is switching over to vertical, the Ninja 5 actually has the ability to use frame guides. Now, frame guides is one of my favorite features because a lot of times I have to shoot in 16:9 and 9:16 at the same time, which means instead of having two cameras, I could use a feature on the monitor where I could actually have guides in terms of what my crop is gonna look like when I cut it into vertical, and it doesn't destroy the image. So I could still have a 16:9 frame, but at the same time, I know what my vertical content is going to look like when I put it into post-production. Now, those two features are cool, those two features are nice, but the big thing that a lot of people like the Ninja 5 monitor for was its ability to externally record, and based on the camera that you had some pretty interesting features. Now, I was talking about the Sony FX6 with this monitor, and on the Sony FX6 using the Atomos Ninja 5, you could actually record in ProRes RAW. Now, ProRes RAW is great because it gives you some of those raw workflows and some of those raw features, so you could change things like your white balance and your exposure, and you get a little bit more flexibility and dynamic range with a 16-bit RAW codec. Now, I'm a DaVinci Resolve user, and some of you guys that are DaVinci Resolve users as well might have the question of how are you going to actually have access to the ProRes RAW on the DaVinci Resolve program while using it on your Sony FX6. And I actually found this app that you can go and check out. It's a RAW converter app that will actually take your ProRes files and put it into Cinema DNG that you can read on DaVinci Resolve. Now, you can do things like pick your compression rate, and you could actually save those RAW files on the SSD drive that you externally record into. After using the Red Komodo for about a month and actually having the C70 around this time last year coming from a C200 and being able to use RAW in multiple different situations, I felt a little bit left out with not being able to do that on the Sony FX6. Now, the argument against that is that you actually don't need ProRes RAW, and I would tend to agree. You don't necessarily need to have a RAW workflow in order to get a great image. In fact, I actually put a side-by-side on Instagram in terms of finding out which image you guys preferred. The top image was actually the ProRes RAW, and the bottom was the XAVC Alt Intra that you get on the Sony FX6. I will say that you can still get a great image out of the Sony FX6. Now, personally for me, I like the ProRes RAW feature. I do have to get a little bit better at the workflow. I did grade these two images the exact same way to make sure that I kept things consistent, but you do have to keep a little bit of a different workflow while using the ProRes RAW footage. Now, what about the Ninja 5 Plus? Now, one of the limitations on something like the Ninja 5 Original is that you can't record in 4K 120 frames a second on the Ninja 5 Original version. Because I'm using S&Q mode, it does show me that footage back in 24 frames a second, even though it's going to be slowed down already. So if I'm using that mode, I don't worry too much about it. On top of that, the Ninja 5 Plus is a lot more expensive. And if I want to get a lot of the features that I love about the original Ninja 5, I could spend a lot less money and invest that into getting more hard drives and getting more storage space and get the most out of using this out of something like my Sony FX6. That being said, is the Ninja 5 still a great buy in 2022, not only as a monitor, but as an external recorder? And my answer is yeah. It's a pretty affordable monitor on its own, and it still holds up in 2022. It's bright enough for you to see in daylight. You can still load LUTs on it, and even if you add in the price of picking up a couple SSD drives, the package for the Ninja 5 actually still might be cheaper than some of the other monitors on the market that don't have those features. If you're looking for a device to unlock a little bit more features out of your camera, like the Sony FX6, the Sony a7S III, or the Sony FX3, then looking at something like an external monitor recorder like the Atomos Ninja 5 is a perfect pairing for your camera. Now, leave a comment down below. What's your monitor of choice when using your cinema camera? And it could be any camera. It could be the R5, it could be your FX6, it could be a C70, it could be a Blackmagic Ursa 12K. But what is your favorite monitor setup for your camera? Leave a comment down below and let's get the conversation started in terms of accessories that we use for our professional video work. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.